Hello, in this video I'm going to be demonstrating the installation of Ricochet A Arm skids. Now this is just kind of a general purpose video showing the procedure for pretty much all of our A Arm skids regardless of the machine. They all pretty much install in the exact same way. There might be some slight variances from machine to machine, but probably 90% of our A Arm skids are going to install in the same way. So like I say, this is on a Honda Talon, but this is just going to be a general guide for regardless of what machine you have. The first thing you need to do is if you have a piece of factory plastic here that's protecting the CV boot guard that's bolted to the A arm, that piece needs to be removed. Some machines have a guard that's bolted to the brake caliper here and comes in and it actually moves with the wheel and tire, swings with the wheel. If there's a factory guard that's bolted to the brake caliper, that guard will stay in place. So like I said, if the factory guard is bolted to the A arm, it will be removed. If the factory guard is bolted to the brake caliper, it will not be removed. That's pretty much standard for any of the machines that we do. So that's the first point that I want to make. We get a lot of calls, people asking, do I have to take this off, or why not, sort of thing. So that's the reasoning there. The ones that are bolted to the brake caliper, those actually give you a lot of really good protection from the factory. And so by leaving that in place when the wheel is swung out open, you've got some protection to the boot here, and then the A arm will be sitting there like that, so you've got good protection. And it won't interfere with the A arm when it comes on in. If you don't have this factory guard here, like I say, it's usually just a piece of plastic that's just bolted to it, and actually that gets in the way of the A arm. So like I say, if it's bolted to the A arm, it comes off. If it's bolted to the brake caliper, it stays. This machine had a guard bolted to the A arm, it's already been removed. So that's the first point I want to make. The second point I want to make is a lot of times people get confused on the placement or where the clamps are going to go. You should get a hardware placement guide with any set that you buy. Most of the time the A arms are going to use the same clamps, front and rear. Sometimes they don't. It just depends on the tubing size that the A arm is constructed of. This particular A arm has two different tubing sizes. It's 1 1/8 up front and a 1 1/4 in the rear. Now again, your hardware guide will specify the placement of the clamps, whether they're front and rear, inboard, outboard, whatever the case may be. The other thing is just the orientation. Sometimes people are confused about which bar it's going to go on. This has these two bars here, to gusset the A arm to strengthen it up. So sometimes people are wondering, does it go around this bar? Does it go around this bar? Does it go around this bar? Pretty much, you can see how we have the mounting holes. We have 4 mounting holes here. Pretty much the clamp is always going to be perpendicular to the bar. So you can see the orientation of these two slots going up and down means the bar is running along this way. The clamp's going to mount perpendicular to the A arm. Same with back here. So that's how the orientation of the clamps goes. If you're confused about which bar or whatnot, it's always going to be perpendicular to the mounting hole in the skid plate itself. So that said, we can actually go ahead and install this. Now before you get ready to actually put the plate on, another thing that's very important is to have the machine off the ground with the wheels unloaded, so the suspension is at full droop. That's the easiest way to check all your clearances. Everything is usually the tightest at full droop. Your clearance will actually increase as the suspension travels up through its cycle. So like I say, we always like to have the suspension at full droop, no load whatsoever. And then also, so we can turn the wheels back and forth and check for clearance once we get it mounted up. So that's another thing that's kind of standard procedure for any of our A arm installation. So now you can go ahead and take your skid plate and get it into position. You'll also want to put anti-seize on all of the bolts. It makes it easier to install. It'll keep it from rusting. It'll be easier to pull off if you ever need to take it off for some reason. And we're leaving all these bolts loose for now. Come back and do the rears. Okay, so that's all the bolts started. Now at this point, I'm gonna snug it up. I'm not gonna fully tighten it. We're just gonna get it snug, get the plate into the approximate position we think it needs to be. And like I say, just snug it up. Like I said, I'm not going to tighten that down. I'm just going to snug it so the plate isn't moving. Now at this point, before you fully tighten it, that's where we need to check for clearance. Actually, let's snug this guy up a little bit. Okay, so that's snugged up. Like I say, now is what you need to do is you need to check for clearance. So you're going to turn the wheel full lock, check around the backside, make sure you have clearance to the wheel, you know, the rim, the brake caliper if the brake caliper is on the backside. Like I say, just make sure you have clearance at full lock. And then you're going to turn it over the other way, full lock, get it up against the steering stop. And again, you're checking for clearance on the brake caliper, you know, the hub assembly, all that up front here. That's looking pretty good. So once you've established that you have clearance, then you can go ahead and tighten the A-arm skid down. It's extremely important though to check for clearance. So like I say, this plate can float a little bit. And so, you know, if I had it kicked out here, you know, it might run into the brake caliper, you know, at full lock. So it's like I say, it's extremely important to check for the clearance in both directions, lock to lock, with the suspension fully unloaded. Once you have the clearance, then you can go through and fully tighten up the plate. Okay, so that takes care of that. It's usually the same procedure left to right. And like I say, this is just kind of a general overall video of how we install our A-arm skids. And this is going to apply to side-by-sides. It'll apply to ATVs. Doesn't matter of the brand. This is just kind of the standard procedure on how we install all of our A-arm skids. So like I say, it's not brand specific or whatnot. If there's a guard bolted to the A-arm, that gets removed. If there's a guard bolted to the brake caliper, that's going to stay. The biggest things, like I say, check for clearance, lock to lock, and that's pretty much it. So that's how we install our A-arm skids. Thanks for watching.